17th at 6 o'clock. I would like to call this regular board meeting to order. Mr. Ackerman, can I get a roll call?
Mrs. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Chestnut?
Here.
Mrs. Mason?
Yeah, here. Can you please stand and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I need an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Can I get a roll call?
Mrs. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Chestnut?
Yes.
Mrs. Mason?
Yes. I now need an approval of the minutes of the board meeting from March 20th of 2025.
So
Can I get a
moved.
motion? Second.
One tiny detail, March 18th.
Oh,
They usually, we had it's listed correctly in the category, but not the subject, though.
thank you. Can I get a roll call?
Mrs. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Chestnut?
Yes.
Mrs. Mason?
Yes. And now I'll hand it over to Josh for our featured artist presentation.
Thank you, President Mason, Superintendent Spicer, Board of Ed. Love to recognize our fine featured artists from Pattison Elementary, if they could come on up. I'd also like to thank the fantastic Mrs. Huggins and Dr. Dunn for all the incredible work they're doing down at Pattison to help support our young student artists. We've got 10 featured artists from Pattison tonight. 10. So we're going to recognize them. And students, you're going to be receiving, this is a pin that we had made. So all of our featured artists get this. So you are only the second school to get these. So pretty special, pretty cool. So we've got a certificate and a pin. We're going to recognize a couple sixth graders first. Caitlin Dorbecker. The artwork is actually on the other side of the room. So we're going to do a little back and forth. And we're going to go left to right. So Caitlin has the record that has been decorated. I'm sure Mrs. Huggins had to explain to students what a record does. And so congratulations. Well done. We have Parker Drake. Parker, there you go. And Parker has the second album over there, right? Do you remember the artist on it? The musician? That's okay. I'm putting you on the spot. That's okay. All right. I do not remember. Congratulations. Congratulations. All right, we have Titus Lincoln, who has the watercolor landscape perspective. Third from the left over there. Titus. Nope. Titus couldn't make it tonight. And we've got some baseball rainouts that are being made up and some different things. Graham Farlow with the landscape watercolor perspective over there. Congratulations, bud. There you go. We have Olivia Leisure, who has the beautiful sunflower painting right in the middle over there. Congratulations. Beautiful. There you go. Oh. We have Reese Reckman, who has, Reese's artwork is, where's Reese at? Right here, there. Reese has the paper mache vase that's actually on the table on the end over there. Congratulations. Beautiful, beautiful. Brody Beauchamp. Did I get it right? All right. I told him he could hit me in the side if I got the last name right. Brody has the watercolor landscape bridge. Congratulations. There you go, bud. Maxine Stowe, who has the woven artwork, third from the right over there. Maxine, congratulations. Mackenzie Harbor has the watercolor still life, second from the right. Congratulations. And finally, we have Joey McRoberts, who did the beautiful jewelry necklace on the end. Congratulations, bud. Congratulations to our student artists from Pattison. Thank you, Mrs. Huggins. You can clap for that. Moms and dads and grandparents, I'm going to highlight a couple other fine arts things, but we're going to meet our kiddos in the back and we're going to get a picture. So if you want to start moving that way while I recognize a couple other things. I do want to highlight, we've got our junior high musical coming up May 16th and 17th. Our junior high students have been working really hard on 13 Junior. They've been working so hard, they actually got a shout-out video from Broadway star Allie Trim. Allie was in the original 13 Junior production, and she is currently Glinda in Wicked on Broadway. So she sent them a personalized video wishing them well, which is pretty cool. We have our third annual Fine Arts Signing Day, which will be May 2nd, 5 p.m. in the Zamudio Theater, followed by our Fine Arts Fair, which is May 2nd and 3rd. We're going to have over 1,000 pieces of artwork from throughout the district. And the last thing I'm really excited to share, and it's kind of a call for help to the community. We know a lot of our graduates from our high school. Milford's such a great community. They stay in the community, which is a wonderful thing, so I'm hoping we can kind of reach that. We, on our May 6th band concert, we will be kicking off our celebration of 100 years of Milford Band. The Milford Band has just turned 100 years old. So that's pretty cool, right? That's pretty cool. We want to tell that story, and we want to recognize our alumni that have gone on to participate in music, or music's been a part of their life. So if you know of any alumni of the Milford High School Band who either have a story to share about their band experience, or they've continued to pursue music, maybe they're a band director, maybe they are a performer somewhere, but music is somehow a part of their life currently, we want to capture that and recognize that in a new alumni wall outside the band room at the high school. So those can be emailed to me directly. Check us on social media, and we've got some contact information about that. But over the next 12 months, we'll be sharing ways that we're celebrating the 100th birthday of Milford Bands. So thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Dr. Rob Dunn, right? Dr. Rob Dunn from Pattison.
You're up, Doctor.
Getting used to the new arrangement over here. Good evening. Hello. Thanks for having me. I am the principal at Pattison. It has been an unbelievable honor for me to return to Pattison as the principal. Not only was I a teacher there years ago, my son went through Pattison and ultimately graduated at Milford High School, so it has been a great return for me. It's been good for the soul and spirit. The students are amazing. The families, they have just engaged this year. We have been able to exceed everything we've tried to do with fundraising, and our events are the sign-up genius. We have to keep adding more people and adding more people because we have more people who want to volunteer than we have spots for them. So it has been an amazing year. We always focus on our pillars at Pattison, which is respect, responsibility, and problem solving. Had a nice time today helping some second graders work through some problem solving on how they pick a captain and who gets to make the first pick for their game outside. So we definitely practice those skills every day, and everybody does an amazing job with that. We're looking for more opportunities coming up this year. Our carnival, I want to say forced, but I definitely offered. The dunk tank is going to return, so I'm going to have to get ready for that as we get ready for the return of the dunk tank to Pattison. That was there years ago. I dunked in that tank many years ago, so we'll be doing it again. And I just appreciate everything all the staff and students have done, the support from the families, and look forward to many, many, many more years at Pattison. Bless you.
The polar plunge should help you practice for the dunk tank.
Oh, I will make sure that the water is warm. And, but I was told I have to go last, which feels a little icky, but I'm going to do it.
Thank you, Dr. Dunn. We are elated that Rob is back at Pattison and just he's in the right spot. And I can see the glow when I come see you, Rob.
Have never felt better.
All right, the next item for presentations, I'm going to turn it over to MJ. We have some updates from MJ this month.
All right. Hi, I'm MJ Ostrowski. I'm the district's mental health coordinator. First, thank you to the board and Superintendent Spicer for allowing me to speak today. Actually, I'm just going to take this out. To speak today to give a mental health update and just a brief overview of our services. To be respectful of all of our time, I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible. However, I've asked if these slides can be uploaded online. So if you have questions, if you'd like to have further dialogue or conversations about anything that I've covered, feel free to reach out, and I'm always happy to have a further conversation. So let's start by just kind of talking through what services we have at each level. So at our elementary level, our middle school, and our high school level. So you can see here listed that we have the support of our school psychologists and our school counselors providing one-on-one and group services. We've been very grateful to have child-focused prevention and case management at all 3 levels in our schools. An additional mental health service that we provide is called group-centered therapeutic education. So this occurs 5 days a week at the elementary level and 3 times a week at the middle school level. We also are fortunate enough to have mental health interventionists working in all of our buildings. So they are providing individualized care, supporting students in their social, emotional, and academic needs. And our highest acuity service is our school-based day treatment, which is a educational placement. But within this placement, they are essentially receiving 2 hours of group therapy a day and a supplemental weekly individual therapy session. Additionally, we have been lucky to have Child Focus this year as a therapist 2 days a week at the middle school, and we have a Best Point behavioral health provider 5 days a week at the high school. So just a little overview of some of the layers that we have. So currently in our services, we have 474 students that we are actively serving. So this means that this is reflective of a student who has a weekly or biweekly appointment. It may be a student who is in maintenance for a monthly session. And it is not reflective of students who receive services with our school counselors, our school psychs, a crisis-related service, or our number would actually be higher. We just discharged 31 prevention clients after having a Child Focus staff member resign. So that is our current number with Kids in Care. Another initiative that I'm really proud of this year is we transitioned away from Hope Squad and we piloted our Sources of Strength Peer Leaders program. Sources is a upstream suicide prevention program. They just published some groundbreaking research stating that Sources has been successful in reducing suicide attempts by 29%. If you have a few minutes, I would click on this link when it's published, and it will do a really good job of capturing what Sources is and how we are utilizing it in Ohio specifically. It's about a 4-minute video. So this year was our first year piloting Sources. We trained 229 peer leaders this year across our district. We do this in support of 1 in 5, which is a local nonprofit. They support us with training needs and fidelity of following through with our campaigns. We also had the support this year of our Claremont County Mental Health Recovery Board. We were awarded a mini grant that provided resources so that we can carry out our campaigns effectively. Sources of Strength is also an approved program for House Bill 123, or what is referred to as the SAVE Act. So you can see here the 4 campaigns that we are running this year. We are ending out our year with the What Helps Me campaign, which is focused on student coping and what gives students strength. So that's going to align with May being Mental Health Awareness Month, so we are really excited for that last campaign. Our adult advisors and our peer leaders have done a really wonderful job this year in all of the buildings. I'm not going to cover this, but I just thought it would be worth sharing as far as the Ohio evaluation results in regards to improved connection and decreased school avoidance, decrease in bullying. So just so you could see how Sources is improving Ohio schools. So take a look at that if you'd like. And then most importantly, we don't do this good work alone. So we are very fortunate in Milford to have some really good local community partners. So again, when you click on the PowerPoint, you will see links that I've included here, but Mindpeace is actually a standalone nonprofit. They are housed in Cincinnati Children's Hospital. They actually started as a group of volunteers who just cared about students receiving mental health in schools and reducing barriers. So we work with Mindpeace to make sure we're providing best practices and also to ensure that everyone has access to care. So if we can't provide it here, then they are helping us to link and make sure that students are served. And again, removing those barriers. So other partners that I've already referenced would be Child Focus, 1 in 5, our crisis team, our Best Point behavioral health providers. I had to put Circle Tail because our beloved facility dogs, right, they are a part of our team. We will talk a little bit more about Gaggle here in a second. Parent guidance is also a link I would encourage anyone to click on. This year, this is a new partnership. Milford was actually awarded a $30,000 grant from the Children's Appalachian Coalition in partnership with the Cook Center. And this allows all Milford families to receive free parent coaching all year. So this could be a neighbor, an aunt and uncle, and also if you don't have a smartphone or access to the app, they actually have a landline where you can access the parent coaching, which I think is really great. Again, removing barriers. And there's some really good resources on their website. So if you have trouble navigating this or signing up for parent coaching, please let me know, and I'm really happy to assist you in that. Ben's Way is another initiative in our secondary level where we are acknowledging students for certain characteristics and then recognizing them. So Gaggle is a partner of ours. So Gaggle is a software that is analyzing algorithms for student well-being. So we asked Gaggle to analyze Milford's data from July to the end of March. And you can see here at the top tier as far as the imminent threat. So from July to the end of March, we have had 56 incidents that have been deemed imminent threats to a student's well-being. So what does this mean? This means that our administrators are being promptly notified. It doesn't matter what time or day. It doesn't matter if it's Thanksgiving or Christmas. This is where we are working with families quickly, and we are working with local law enforcement to ensure welfare checks and to ensure that parents are aware and that students are supported. The content categories that they're assessing, you can see here I've listed out. For the sake of this presentation, I pulled the suicide or self-harm. There were 395 instances, right, that were caught with Gaggle under the suicide or self-harm. If you want to read more about Gaggle, I did link their case studies. They actually just published a really good article in March of this year highlighting Gaggle in 3 other Ohio districts. So please take a look at that. So why mental health, right? Why do we have all these services? And I feel very fortunate to be a part of Milford's team as a community member, as a mother. I think we really try to do a good job of providing students care. So what do we know about mental health, right? We know that suicide, unfortunately, is increasing across the country. It's increasing in Ohio. We know that suicide is the second leading cause of death in our youth, age 10 to 24. We know that suicide is the leading cause of death in adults ages 18 to 24, which also touches our students, right? So the OSFP quoted that 20% of our high school students essentially had serious thoughts of suicide, and that 9% have actually made an attempt to take their own lives. So why the increase, right? And I could go on for hours talking about risk factors and warning signs, but I want to just highlight briefly the National Institute for Health and the Ohio Suicide Prevention Foundation is really starting to analyze and speak about social media use of minors and the increased link in depression and suicidality. And so why? Why would social media increase suicidality in our youth, right? Well, if you think about brain development, our brains aren't fully developed till we're in our mid-20s. So unfortunately, our young people are ill-prepared to decipher or interpret or really to think maturely about content that might be harmful, it might be predatory, or it just might be addictive in nature, right? So that's just something to call out. I reference this because the SARA Collaborative, which is through Children's Hospital, it's the Suicide Education Research Advocacy Group, and they actually sent out an article this year by Dr. Dan Nelson, who's a psychiatrist in Cincinnati with us, talking about suicide contagion and suicide clusters, and really talking through that there might be a rise in intensity due to the popularity of social media in adolescence. So, unfortunately, suicide contagion is a real concern. Sadly, our neighbors in Boone County, if you're not aware, had 5 youths die by suicide since November of 2024, and they had multiple attempts on top of those completions. So it is unfortunately a very real and prevalent thing. I did include here some best practice guidelines for reporting suicide with the media, and that pertains to social media as well. So what do we do here at Milford, right? How do we take care of this? If we are aware of suicidal ideation, it could be active ideation, it could be passive ideation, including hopelessness or other risk factors. It could be non-suicidal self-injury. It could be other self-harm behaviors. But if we're aware of it, we are going to address it. This is actually a specific slide that I took from a training that I attended with Mind Peace and Children's Hospital this fall, and I felt like it did a really nice job of capturing just appropriate steps. So when we are assessing for risk here in the school, we are using evidence-based practices. We're going to use the Columbia, we're going to use the ASQ, and most importantly, we're going to work with families, right? We're going to work with families to safety plan to ensure that they have access to resources. We're going to provide reentry care for if they were in the hospital and support them in that regard. It's not really a parent resource, but if you've never taken a cognitive processes class, it's more of a clinician resource, but it just does a really nice job of capturing what cognitive processes look like in suicidal ideation for adolescents. So if you are seeking to learn about that, it's a nice resource just to start with. So continuing with service delivery, right, if we're taking it one step further from crisis intervention, let's talk about crisis response. Let's talk about postvention and what we do here at Milford and what we have done and what we will continue to do. So I really want to stress that in any student death, and any type of student death, the focus is going to be on healing, education, and if relevant, then suicide prevention and preventing the ripple effect, or what we know to be suicide contagion. So these are just some of the steps that we have taken and that we will continue to take, working with the crisis team, crafting to support our staff to make sure they're educated and aware of what services we're providing so that they're aware of what acute stress symptoms might look like in their students, and allowing for that healing time in that space. And even one step further, something that we do here at Milford and will continue to do, if we know there's a death date or an anniversary, then we are going to work with partners like we have in the past to bring in services to support our youth if they're in need. So these are just some of the things that we do. Unfortunately, if we have a student death for postvention from the mental health lens and the school lens. I did include a couple of resources that we utilize when thinking about our best practice postvention. So talking about graduation, right? So obviously graduation is a time of a lot of mixed emotions. And we're talking about student death. We're talking about postvention. Unfortunately, this is a very real thing. We're talking about suicide. So I want to stress when we talk about graduation or any procedure here at the school as it pertains to mental health, our driving force is the safety and well-being of all of our students. We not only are reading the research, right, but we are consulting and talking with local and state and national experts, right? We want to, again, support and respect the well-being of all of our students. Grief is very complex as an emotion. Grief is as unique as your fingerprint. Some people grieve quietly, some people grieve loudly. There are considerations clinically with grief related to disenfranchised grief and complicated bereavement. And I really want to clarify that we do not suppress grief in our school district. We really work hard to create meaningful and personalized experiences for our students to provide support that are respectful of all of our students. Even in our procedures and our considerations for graduation, we have spoken with the students, we've allowed space to talk with our students, to hear them out, to create understanding, and mostly to provide support to them in an ongoing way. So we are doing that, we will continue to do that. So this guidance is from Mind Peace, which is one of our community partners. They are their best practices. Again, if you want to talk at greater length about this, I'm happy to. If you want to talk about depression, if you want to talk about cognitive constriction, we can. But if you want to talk to the vice president of Mind Peace, her name is Nicole Fearman. Her contact information is here. And she's welcome to any call as well, but she's an additional resource on top of me if you want to speak through what these considerations look like. But again, I just want to stress that our driving force really is the safety and well-being of all of our students. My contact information is linked here. If you would like to transparently look at our mental health processes and our referral procedures, please do so. And again, I'm open to further dialogue, and I appreciate the time today.
Thank you, MJ. Any questions?
I do have one quick question. I know we switched to sources of strength this year, and I was just wondering, so how do you pick the student leaders?
That's a great question. So there is a student nomination process. So we are working with the school employees to nominate students. But outside of that process, if there are students that want to be involved, we're not turning them away. Sources is unique in the sense that they're really seeking a diverse group of students because the goal is to reach as many students as possible. So we really have a diverse group of students. We had an adult advisor training, and Katie Kaiser from 1 in 5 came and spoke to us about the importance of that diversity. And if there are students that want to be involved, we're not going to turn them away. We just want to make sure they have the appropriate training and resources to do so. We actually have QPR coming in this month for our sources leaders. I think we have 2 days scheduled just to give them even additional support and training.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One question, when we have a kid that's not on your guys' radar, so how are the parents contacted once a student raises concerns of anxiety or depression or anything with a leader in our district?
If a student brings up a concern where they're seeking additional help or need, then for any of our services, parent consent is required. And you guys know your kids best, right? So we're going to want to work with the parent to explore what services are most appropriate. So if a student is identifying with a school counselor that maybe their anxiety is increasing, maybe they're experiencing more distress in one or more domains of their life, then the counselor is going to reach out to the family and to talk through what services we have available, because we have a lot of different services, right? And really making sure that the level of care is appropriate. And so once we have that consent, then we would figure out what service to pair them with.
Okay. I'd imagine these services are probably saving our community money, I'd imagine, right? Because without them, there would only be one option of finding a provider that may or may not take your insurance. I mean, obviously, if it's a certain level of care that we probably couldn't take care of that, but on most cases, we're probably saving our community a lot of money.
We are, and actually, Milford has done an amazing thing in hiring internal staff because we do not bill and we do not charge for our services. And coming from working in nonprofit, even when I had families who could afford it with a high deductible insurance plan, it often was still a barrier, or it was taking from something else in their family, and then they were having to pick and choose between services for their kid or something in their home. So yeah, we don't bill. There's no billing. There's no insurance. Like, we were just providing evidence-based care and support in these services through the district. Yeah. So it's really unique, and I wish there could be more of that for more districts.
Yeah, I think it's important to highlight those soft touches of care that we have, because I know I did some work on this recently for, I was working with the City of Cincinnati Public Schools and working with Toledo Public Schools as well on with their various types of engagement where they do early screening, not Cincinnati yet, but Toledo does. And by having those soft touches with students inside the district, along with parent involvement, obviously, I would imagine there's many kids that when you don't understand mental health, it can get you into a position where all of a sudden now you do need more higher assistance from a doctor. Maybe now you have to start taking medication because you don't understand it, right, as a kid. But with the soft touches, I can only imagine that educating the kids on mental health keeps them from growing into somebody who has that tag to them for the rest of their life.
Absolutely, and even thinking about post Milford, when I have students who graduate, part of our role is also helping them if they need continued care, helping them access that. If it's even if it's the role of just advocating, if we're talking about medication management, have they done a gene site test? Do they feel heard? Are the services they're providing working for them? Do they need something different? So we wear the mental health where we're providing individualized services, but we do a lot of advocacy. And just support of our families as well. I know my team's been involved in IEP meetings, 504 meetings for recommendations, doing threat assessments in the district. So we really wear a lot of hats, and my providers are really a part of their school communities. And again, we're really just trying to provide student support the best that we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, one more thing before we move on from this. MJ, so thank you for being here this evening. Thank your team, all of our MHIs, our school counselors that are here supporting you, that support our students. And thank you, Will Cates in the back, who is our first mental health coordinator here at the district and really started all of this for us. And thank you to the board and to the general community for allowing us to as MJ said, bring folks in so that there's no billing. When you're billing, you're also taking away time from your patients, right? So thank you for all of you for being here and for all you do for us. Thank you.
All right, moving on to mission moments. Tonight, we are honoring Myrna Snell. She embodies our portrait of a staff member quality of being student-centered. And I'm going to read something that Tina Reynolds, who is our Director of Nutrition Services, wrote about Myrna. Myrna has been the kitchen manager at McCormick since August 12, 2020, and her passion for cooking, as well as her deep compassion for our students, has grown stronger with each passing year. During the pandemic, her empathy shone brightly as she worked tirelessly to ensure every student was fed, preparing weekend meals and keeping up with the growing number of students needing breakfast and lunch. Myrna continually introduces new and creative meals that spark curiosity and encourage students to explore food in exciting, hands-on ways. Her commitment to building student-centered relationships led to the creation of McCormick's very first baking club, a space that's grown into something truly special and something she has dreamed of from the beginning. She's expanded the club to include guest speakers like representatives from Fork Farms, our high school chef to teach essential cooking skills, and our own assistant kitchen manager, a former baker at Buskin's, who shares cake decorating skills. She also collaborates with McCormick's very own PE teacher, Carrie Geis, to create simple, healthy recipes students can try at home. Myrna has even introduced friendly food competitions, challenging students to cook with mystery ingredients or creatively substitute missing ones, including teaching flexibility, problem solving, and fun in the kitchen. Her selflessness, her daily kindness, and her relentless dedication teach our students that food isn't just fuel, it's a life skill. And Myrna is leading that charge with heart, joy, and inspiration. So we're very, very happy and proud to have her.
Tina, come on, you gotta get up to the microphone a little bit. Come on now, Tina's our food service director. Laura, you can join her if you want. But we're super proud and super happy of you and certainly all of our food service folks. But Myrna, especially this past week, you know, having the opportunity to go to McCormick and be a part of the food club, and
That was fun.
I mean that was super
Myra
fun.
had fun.
And our students certainly learned some life skills there.
They did.
Most importantly, the best food is made with love.
It absolutely
Right?
is. I mean, learning does not stop in the classroom. We keep on going, so.
So I was at the high school today for AP presentations, and I heard we have fire roasted pizzas now.
Smart
cooked-
Mouth Pizza is what it's called, yes.
Okay.
We bought a pizza
They were raving
oven.
about it, the
Yeah.
kids and the teachers that I was with. So I was surprised when I heard about that. I was like, that's,
Yep,
Yeah.
fresh made every day. Takes us about 5 hours, but our participation, we're a nonprofit, so all the money goes back into the kids.
wow.
They
Yeah,
love their
that's cool.
pizza.
And much.
And it's
just
whole
much-
grain.
Yeah.
Paul
we won't-
noticed it was whole grain.
We won't
What?
tell 'em.
Paul noticed it was whole grain.
Where is he?
I'll just say I got to judge at the McCormick contest. It was a lot of fun. The kids, it was 25 or 30 kids in there. I sort of felt hives breaking out because I couldn't believe those two teachers were just letting them cook and cut things with a knife and everything else. They got along great. And Myrna had a really special relationship with the kids. It was really impressive and delicious.
She really does. She does a great job.
I mean, I don't think a lot of people brag about the nutrition services at their school, but we really are lucky to have you all. I just think that you're doing so many creative things, and I mean, I went to the Harry Potter feast, which was so fun, and this is really, really great. There's a lot of kids who also love culinary experiences, so this is a great way to get them interested in that early.
And we started growing our hydroponics today as well. So we're growing our own lettuce. Shh, don't tell the kids either.
Well, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
All right, do we have any public commentary?
Not for the first round, no.
Okay. All right, we will be moving on to the treasurer's reports, and I think Michael has an update for us.
Yeah, so we'll do the Finance Committee update real quick, mainly focused on the House bill, the House budget bill moving through Columbus right now, as we've been focusing on at our last few meetings. So on our website right now, there's 3 areas that you can look at if you want to get a little bit involved, which we would appreciate that from all of our community members. So if you go to the website, you can go to the More tab, and then you can go to the Treasurer's page. So it's not too hard to find. And then there's 3 areas. There's a Get Involved area, and that Get Involved area is the one that we recently put up that provides some guidance, provides the contact information that you need for our local representatives, and then a template that you can use. There's 2 updated tabs, one that explains to you what the fair school funding is, so you can understand that, because as the current bill that's moving through, our district would lose $1 million over the next 2 fiscal years, I believe, Doug. So that's there. So it's good to understand that and read that page. And then there's a second page, and this is the one that's far more egregious than the first. So House Bill 96, and for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and just read what we have on the website. I know other people, I know I could tell you just to go read it, but I would just rather read it out loud here rather than just try to explain it, since we put this together as a district. So House Bill 96. So school districts across the state, including Milford, are facing renewed challenges due to the longstanding inequities in how Ohio funds its public schools. One of the most pressing concerns is House Bill 96, a proposal that threatens to penalize districts that have maintained their finances responsibly. Instead of rewarding careful planning and community trust, the bill would strip away locally approved funding from its districts that maintain healthy cash reserves, regardless of the reason or necessity for those savings. And this is a good point to interject that even though that Milford has been going through financial challenges and we haven't had, we failed 2 operating levies, our budget still sits above the threshold that I'm going to discuss here. So the fact that we do still have some longevity here while we continue to try to work with the community and do our performance audit to build the confidence of the community, get them to pass a levy, we're still above this threshold. So that kind of gives you a good understanding of how low this number is. So House Bill 96 requires school districts to reduce their cash reserves if they exceed 30% of their annual spending. It penalizes districts that save strategically to stretch levy dollars and prepare for rising costs, could force schools like Milford to return to the ballot more often, asking taxpayers for new levies just to maintain existing services. House Bill 96 would punish districts that plan ahead. Milford works hard to save money so we can avoid asking our community for new tax levies too often. These savings help pay for teachers, classroom materials, technology, extracurriculars, and more without needing to go back to voters every few years. But this bill says that if we save too much, we could lose some of that money, even if we're saving it for good reasons like covering rising costs or protecting against emergencies. If this bill becomes law, it could force us to ask families for money sooner than planned just to keep doing what we're already doing. So our impact for Milford, House Bill 96 will result in potential loss of $10 to $19 million, funding that has already been responsibly saved and built into our long-term financial plan. This would come on top of the potential loss that I mentioned about the Fair School Funding Plan of $1 million, placing even greater pressure on our ability to serve our students. Since our last operating levy was in 2013, Milford has taken pride in fiscal responsibility, strategic planning, and maximizing every taxpayer dollar. House Bill 96 would make that approach unsustainable. We could be forced to return to voters more often, not to invest in the future, but simply to preserve what we already have. This unfairly shifts the burden to local residents who have long supported strong public schools. In addition to increased levy pressure, we may also face deeper cuts to staffing, programs, and essential services, further straining our schools and students. So why do reserves matter? So due to House Bill 920, nearly 89% of Milford's millage is outside of the 20 mil floor, meaning we do not receive additional revenue when property values increase. That's why we're expected to save early in a levy cycle and spin those reserves down gradually as costs rise. Milford believes in responsible financial management, transparency, and honoring the trust of our community has placed in us. House Bill 96 undermines those values by threatening to override the careful decision made by our local elected Board of Education and our voters. And then we urge lawmakers to reconsider this proposal, protect local control, and support funding solutions that reward, not punish districts that plan for the future. So I wanted to read all that just so people could understand, you know, the level of worry that we should all have for that. It does return money back to the taxpayers, so we don't really know how that would even be done. But ultimately, you would be faced with levy after levy, and you would have districts that really can't sustain at the level we do with extracurriculars and the things that we do in our area. So very important for people to read that, understand it, and if you are against it like I am, and I know the rest of our board and our administration are, it would be good to write Columbus, write the local, write your local people, but also write the, what's that? Because it's going to the Senate now, so you had to write the Education Committee.
Senate Education Committee, Senate's Finance Committee, Senator Terry Johnson is our senator here for Milford Schools.
Yeah, so it's already, so just so everybody understands, the governor puts forward a budget, that went to the House changed it. The governor's budget did not include this. Then it went to the House changed it to this, and now it sits with the Senate. So, you know, it could be only weeks before it passes the Senate.
We should know something within a month, and after the Senate debates, then it usually goes to a conference committee, and then they make a decision on what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it has to be enacted by, or signed by the governor by June 30th, July 1st, and then it takes effect 90 days later.
Yeah.
So
I don't think anybody would argue that it's not, you know, good for the legislature to discuss different ways for school funding. But rushing through something like this that obviously wasn't even in the governor's bill, nobody had ever even heard of it before the House put it into this one, doesn't seem like it's going to be good for school districts across the state. So
I do think that the part that really doesn't make sense to me is the 30%. I think that's really, really, it just doesn't make sense. I know in business, that's sometimes how budgets are decided. Like, you get a certain amount of budget per year,
Right.
and then at the end of the year, if you don't spend it, you don't get that money for the next year. Well, that ends up with a lot of people spending money really irresponsibly, because they're like, well, we have to spend that money before next year, otherwise we won't get that in the following year. And I can only imagine what it's going to do to schools, because, you know, unlike a business, we have to have a 5-year forecast twice a year, and we have to be able to plan. And if we can't have some kind of reserve, we really can't plan for what our next 1 year is going to look like, much less 5 years. It's just really difficult.
Yeah.
to give you another example of how this would hurt us is we have a bond rating. And we were fortunate that you passed the levy, and thank you for that. But what happens is when they look at your bond rating, it's very similar to when you go and get a loan from the bank. They want to see how much money you have, how much money can you put down. So they're looking at your fund balance. And if your fund balance is where they want it, they will give you a better bond rating, which means you get a better interest rate, which means you don't pay as much in taxes. If the fund balance goes down with this 30% cap, then you don't have as much, your bond rating goes down, interest rates go up, which means we have to ask you for more money, but the thing is you're not voting on it because you already did. So that's what's difficult. So this is a fight throughout the whole state of Ohio. There's many, not only superintendents, but treasurers that believe it's a 50-50 split. It will or will not happen. Nobody wants to act impatiently. However, there's only a couple months and you have to do something. So reaching out to the Senate is a perfect opportunity. I know that's what all the districts are doing. We've invited people here just to talk to them, speak our mind, speak our piece, ask for help, because this is money that you've already said yes to us. That's what's being taken away. It's nothing new. And then you get into a cycle where if you've tried to run a levy because they're taking levy dollars away, well, guess what? You just pass something again, they're going to take it back. So what do you do? So.
Yeah, so you can, again, you look at our website, and I also, the last thing I want to point out is Loveland, our partners over at Loveland with our ex-treasurer, John Espy over there. They have a really nice page too that's on their website called Lobby, and John does a very nice job at explanations too. So if you want to look at more than just our website, our neighbors in lots of districts across the state have information on this. So, all right, well, that's my update. I know I'm always long, but I feel like right now we're in an important moment for our finances, as we always are. So
It is, it's important. So I need a motion to approve the board reports.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Doug, you're up.
Okay, so I'm not going to let that get me down. I am a half glass full kind of guy. So we're going to be positive. Things are good. Things are great, actually. But we have some teaching moments. So as we begin with our cash reconciliation, if we scroll down, we can see that we are balanced, which is, keep going there, Steve. We are balanced. So our operating and our fund balance inside the accounting system and our operating account match, which is perfect. So then as we slide down to the next, we see that this is our investments, and we can see that, I know it's hard to see, I apologize. There's $298,000 that we earned for the month of March, and then year to date, we've earned approximately $4.2 million. Now, the $4.2 million is spread across many funds. A good portion of them, of course, are the bond funds and the middle school project. So then as we scroll down to the next slide, now, this is an important slide. This here, and I show it every month, this is our 5-year forecast. So this is a monthly update of your 5-year forecast. So this column right here is what we presented in November. Now, we present this twice a year, November and May, so one is coming up. This is what we did as far as revenue and expenditures for the month of March, and then this column here is a snapshot as of March 31st where we stand. So if you scroll all the way down, and this is the teaching moment. This is where things become difficult after you just listen to the presentation by Mr. Wilson. So we predicted in November that we were going to deficit spend by roughly $3.9 million. I have to look at my cheat sheet. I apologize. So we had a month where we overspent, which is going to happen because we don't make anything and we don't sell anything. So here you show a snapshot where if we stopped, we've overspent for the year, negative $11 million. Now, that's not good. We need to be fiscally responsible. That is my goal. We are going to be fiscally responsible. We are not going to overspend. However, what everyone doesn't always know, if you scroll back up, Steve, all the way back to the top, property tax revenue, which is what we were just discussing. So first line, we have forecasted around $38 million. To date, as of March 31st, we've only received $17 million. We haven't received our second half settlement yet. That second half settlement will put us into a positive position for the year, which means everything that we're doing right now is working. if the substitute House Bill 96 is enacted, well, this is a good example. And again, I'm a half glass full kind of guy. This is what it would look like, because we would get half the money. So,
And when are we expecting that next payment? Because I know we,
actually, it came April 1st.
okay, good. So
Yes,
we'll see it
yes.
cleared up next month.
So we will see it next.
Okay,
And so
good.
that's what's great is, and you're going to go through these months where you don't have money coming to you, you're not receiving anything, you're not posting in revenue. So it's why you have to have cash. Another reason you have to have cash to support yourself. And I know everybody knows that. It's the same at home. You have to have cash, especially after Christmas, Thanksgiving and Christmas. Where's that cash? So, but this is a great slide, and I love this because it gives us a snapshot of the 5-year forecast and where we stand. So, and then if you go to the next slide, now this kind of shows it in graph form. So you'll see that our local revenue is where we just discussed. It's not to that point yet because we've not been able to post the receipt yet. Then you have your state revenue, which is up just a little bit. And then, of course, your all other revenue. And you can see it's down just a little bit, but that's going to happen because of various receipts that you receive through the year. And then the next slide. Now, the next slide is our expenditures. This is what we try to, or not try, this is what we need to control. So salary and benefits are always going to go up. That's going to happen because every year the union bargains for raises, and this is what occurs. Purchase services, on the other hand, is down. That's what we can control, and we're doing a very good job of that. And then you've got all other expenditures, and we're doing the same thing. So I'm very proud of us for that. And then the final slide is just a different bar graph where it kind of shows it a different way. Sometimes when I look at graphs, I can see things and I can't depending on the way it's situated. So again, you got salaries, benefits, purchase services, and then everything else. But you can see that we're down just a little bit. So one thing else that I wanted to mention, if Steve, can you go all the way back to the actual agenda? So we have two tabs right here. Now, Mr. Wilson mentioned that we are working on changing the treasurer's page. I want you to be able to go in there and find things right away. I don't want it to be a difficult situation. So, and I try to put on there as much as possible and try to have links to various things. We switched software back in July. So, unfortunately, when you do that, you have to have approval from the Treasurer of State in order to utilize the Ohio checkbook. So, and when I say that, it's a free service, but it has to format to your software. So we've been working on that, and he doesn't have to hit it, but this link right here will bring up all the reports. And one of the reports that it brings up is I post every month all the checks that are written on a monthly basis. And if you wanted to look at them and see what they are, if you don't have access to Ohio checkbook, it's always right there. We should have all our data updated with Ohio checkbook probably within about 3 weeks is what they told us. And then we'll be able to do it on a quarterly basis. I would like to do it on a monthly basis. They're not sure if they can handle that yet. So more to come with that. So, any questions?
So just an update too. Next month, we will be doing 5-year forecast.
We will. And one other thing that no one's sure if we like this or not, but with the substitute House bill, the 5-year forecast will go to a 3-year forecast. Not sure if that's good or bad.
Just because we don't know what's going to.
I'm a old school kind of guy, so I like to see 5 years down, so I will still present that. But yeah, it's going to make it a little more difficult. So when you look at a forecast, your first 3 years are really what you're viewing. It's the last 2 years, they're going to be all over the place. And you really don't want to look at the last, the 5th year because things can happen between years 1 and 5. So when you look at it, it's very simple. Go to 2 lines. Are you overspending and what's your fund balance? Then you know if you're doing a good job. So, and I'm very proud of what this school district is doing. So,
And just a reminder too, we are going through our process of independent audit, which we voted on at the beginning of the year, just for transparency and to look at our finances and make sure that we're doing everything correctly and see where there were areas that we could improve. And I think they said that would take until like September or October.
They said late October, early November.
Okay.
Yes, that's still the goal. So, and they don't give you regular updates, so we just know they ask for a lot of information.
Okay. Any more discussion or questions? All right, please call the roll.
Mrs. Powers,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Chestnut,
Yes.
Mrs. Mason.
Yes. Now I need a motion to approve the below vendors.
So moved.
Oh, second.
Any questions, comments?
Nope.
Please call the roll.
Mrs. Powers,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Chestnut.
Yes.
Mrs. Mason.
Yes. Now, item 3, we have a couple of contracts for approval, and I need a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mrs. Powers,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Chestnut,
Yes.
Mrs. Mason.
Yes. Now we have a bunch of donations. Can I get a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion around this?
I would just say I think it's wonderful that so many people are donating in honor of Peggy True, a longtime teacher in the district. I think it's quite a testament to what she did for the district.
Yeah, yeah, and I read about her at the meeting last month, because there was stuff coming in, so if everybody, really wants to go back and hear me talk, go back to last month. I'm just kidding.
I would just like to say, not as the treasurer of the district, but as a resident, I'm very proud and impressed what's happening with our donations. It's on a regular basis, so thank you.
Yeah.
And we're very grateful for the boosters and them helping out our athletics program.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other comments? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Powers,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Chestnut.
Yes.
Mrs. Mason.
Yes. Now we're moving on to superintendent's business.
Thank you, President Mason, members of the board. Mr. Johnson is here to talk about the middle school.
So things continue to go well with our middle school project. We are still on schedule for our August 1st update. This here's a picture of the front of the building. It's kind of hard to see, but windows are going in the gymnasium. They've put them in the front of the building right here, and then they're working their way around, and they're getting ready to finish up the brickwork on the gym. This is a science room. You can see some of the casework, sinks and floorings in, casework's going in, and this room in particular is one of our science rooms. This is an ELA space, so you can kind of see the lighter flooring is the pathway, if you will, and then these ELA spaces are extended learning area. There'll be furniture in there where teachers can take students out into. We've got lockers, obviously, been installed. There'll be like stools will go along here with that countertop. It's really hard to get a good picture of the courtyard. This is actually taken from a third floor window. So they've poured kind of from here all the way around the outside back to this side. They'll be connecting that and then continuing on to pour concrete. It's alternating colors of concrete, and then there'll be a walkway, if you can kind of see it's formed up here, that'll be kind of standard concrete. So there's a lot of work goes into that because they're very small pours because of the changing colors. So it's not like they can't do it in just one big pour. They're literally pouring like this section right here, and there's a section over on this side was all they poured the day before. Again, another view. Got our lockers. This is from standing kind of inside the ELA space, looking out towards the lockers. Doors have been being installed on the second and third floor as well. This is our main gymnasium. Again, it's a little bit dark and hard to see, but basketball hoops have been installed. We've got our scoreboard, our red wall. The ceiling's been painted, the walls have been painted. Actually, the wood for the gym floor will be delivered before our next board meeting.
Can you talk about that a little bit, Jeff, the wood and how it has to acclimate?
It has to acclimate. So one of the things we've been spending a lot of time on is working on starting up our HVAC system. All winter long, we've had propane torpedo heaters heating the building so that we can, paint and put flooring in and put finishes in. But as the spring starts turning into summer and we get humidity and higher temperatures, we've got to get cooling into that building. So we filled and are currently flushing our HVAC system. We've started up our pumps. We'll be next week we'll be working on starting up our boilers, and then the week of the 28th, so a week from Monday, we'll begin working on starting up the chillers. So we're hoping by the 1st of May we're actually able to push some cold air and get humidity out of the building. So that's important because we got wood casework that's already been installed, and as I said earlier, we've got to bring the wood for the gym floor. We'll come into the building and we'll sit and acclimatize, I think, for 2 weeks before they'll actually start laying the floor down. Here you see the elevator is going in. So the doors that's been an open area for probably a year, maybe more. But they've started installing the elevator, so they're able to come back in and put the block around the elevator doors. I think that's the second floor, but they've got it installed on all 3 floors. Is that it? So, again, things are going great. I'm taking the academy staff on a tour tomorrow morning, and then May 6th, which is election day, when our students are not in session, all the middle school staff will get an opportunity to go through the building at that point in time, which will probably be their last time seeing it until we move in August.
That's awesome.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Item 2 is our legislative update. Michael really hit on a lot of House Bill 96 that I was going to talk about, but I would also just like to reiterate that 90% of our students in the state of Ohio go to public schools. And I think that's very important for folks. One thing that we haven't really touched a lot on here are vouchers. My message to our legislators was we're not afraid of competition. I think we have a great product here, and I think our students and families are here for a reason. 97% of the vouchers that have been taken thus far this year, they already took them. So new opportunities for students is not happening. And so if you live out east in a rural area, what are your voucher options? You don't have any. And so I think that just wanted to add that piece. I think it's important to continue to reach out to Senator Johnson. Let's not forget Representative Schmidt and Representative Byrd to our south and east, who is also on the Senate Education Committee and has listened to us. They have actually listened to us, and we appreciate the time that they've given us. So that's my legislative report this month.
Yeah, and the one point to point out on vouchers, if you are going to write the legislature, is that there was $1 billion that went to vouchers last year, $1 billion. And then there's another 1.5 earmarked in this bill, or at least over $1 billion earmarked for it this year. So with 90% of Ohio students going to public schools, and if you search, there's plenty of different outlets out there that have done maps of the different private schools that are available to kids in Ohio, and you can see that there's not even enough of them to give the level of education that our public schools are given all across the state. So to defund or lower the funds greatly to the public schools, all the while giving $1 billion plus to private corporations that our community members won't have any say-so over, like you guys are sitting here today, listen to us and talk to us, is something that's important when you write them. It's just something for you to think about as you write them and you think about the way that the money is being allocated across the state.
And the vouchers are being given to families that they are not needs-based.
That's right, yeah.
You can be wealthy and taking tax dollars to pay for the private school.
Yeah. So, yeah, thank you for that, John. I've been trying to focus on the one thing. I appreciate
too.
you bringing that piece up.
All right, on to policy. We have the first reading for the following policies listed. We'll bring those back next month for approval, and these were all addressed in our committee.
And just so you know, this is the time of year that we get a lot of policy updates. We are always working with OSBA to make sure that we're compliant with all new legislation. So that's why you'll see like a lot of policies all at once.
All right, item 4, we do have some policies for approval, bringing them back this month. First reading was last month. Asking for your approval of those policies.
Can I get a motion to approve the policies?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Chestnut?
Yes.
Mrs. Mason?
Yes. Moving on to Human Resources business. I would like to give a little update before we go into this from our Personnel Committee. As the school year winds down, we're continuing to monitor our staffing needs and fill open positions across the district. We expect only a small number of new hires for the 25-26 school year. All current openings are posted on the district website under the Employment tab. We have officially closed the all-day kindergarten lottery. We had 192 families enter, and although 5 were not selected for their first choice building, every family was offered a full-day kindergarten spot somewhere in the district.
That's awesome.
Kindergarten registration still open for both full-day and half-day options. And also, the search for our next Milford High School principal is underway. We're partnering with K-12 Consulting to gather input and build a profile that reflects what our students, staff, and community are looking for in a new leader. So this is what the process is going to look like for that. From April 7th to 16th, we had a community questionnaire that went out where we could have feedback and collect that feedback. And then today, we had 4 focus groups. The first one was held with Milford High School students, and then there was another one with Milford High School staff, and then we just went to one with the district staff and board members, and then there's one currently going on right now with members of the community. So we expect to bring a hiring recommendation to the Board of Education at the May meeting. So very quick timeline, but we definitely wanted to get a lot of input from the community and the people who work in our district and our students, because this is a very important position to fill for the high school principal. So moving on to our human resources businesses, I need a motion to approve the MOU with the MEA.
Are we doing these as consent? Are we doing all the HR?
Yeah, it's all consent.
Okay, so we will do items G1 through G6.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Yes.
Yep. 20 years of service for Renati Van Holly. I'd like to thank her. I'd also like to thank Dr. Arnold, who is here this evening, for giving us 4 years. During our time, talking to our consultant, if we can get 5 years or more, we're doing pretty well. The high school principal is no question the hardest position in the district to be the face of that high school. And so thank you, Dr. Arnold. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, moving on to curriculum and
Do
instruction.
we need to vote?
Yeah, need to vote.
Sorry, totally missed that. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Chestnut?
Yes.
Mrs. Mason?
Yes.
And
Now
I didn't
moving
want to
on.
interrupt that right there, but the kindergarten numbers, are the numbers similar to what we had last year?
They're a little bit lower.
A little lower,
Yeah.
okay.
Now moving on to curriculum and instruction, and Emily has an update for us.
Yes, so we had curriculum instruction last week. We had some good conversation about student fees, and we'll be approving those tonight. But the overarching goal was really to keep fees as flat as possible for families who are we're all experiencing inflation. So it's a balance of, what the school district can take on and what we expect families to take on. There was also a really good technology conversation as we move towards phasing out bring your own devices, and we get one-to-one devices for all of the students in the district. We do have math curriculum that is currently being evaluated, and they're scheduled to present the 2 final recommendations tomorrow, and we anticipate approval of the final in May. The summer reading program has been finalized with the lists, very similar to choices from last year. And the committee reviewed data from Portrait of the Eagle Walks and Data Drive, and the focus was on critical thinking and data, and next steps are going to be shared in the teaching and learning newsletter coming out next week on the 24th. And that's, we also have some good technology happening with under Emma's leadership, really looking at amping up the technology that we need at the high school to support all the devices we have there, and server upgrades. Security is really, really important as we see schools are getting targeted more and more for cyber attacks and that sort of stuff. We need. Yep. That's my updates.
Great. All right. I need a motion to approve the curriculum pay as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? No. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Chestnut?
Yes.
Mrs. Mason?
Yes. Now I need a motion to approve the school fees for the 25-26 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Are these going to be posted for families? Oh, Mr. Daniels. is
We'll let
back.
Paul get in.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, couldn't give him you got to have an opportunity.
Always got jokes. I will first want to thank our department chairs and our building teacher leaders and our secretaries and our part-time secretaries at the elementary, new, middle, and high school. They really work hard on behalf of our families. So all of these will be posted. They are currently posted here. We will work hard after you approve them to get the one-pagers done, and most likely in our back-to-school guide. What you will see for high school, Steve, if you want to just, I'm not going to go through those. We have 14 reductions. They're really small, but, and then we have 17 increases between $1 and $2. The district does not make any money. We are a pass-through entity for AP. So any of the AP courses each year, they go up $1 or $2. We are a pass-through. If you are on free or reduced lunch, we waive those. The College Board does. So for access. There are 16 other fees between $3 and $30. Most of those are because we are experiencing the same inflationary pressures that our families are experiencing. We're seeing it in a rising cost of printed materials. So for a good example of that would be a lit book and a lit circle. They're averaging anywhere from $2 to $3 more. And then we did add fees to courses or change names. So probability and statistics is a good one. We changed the name and just applied the same fee for EMIS purposes. So, and we have ASL 2 and 3. They'll charge the same fee as ASL 1. So the entire department chair and admin team at the high school worked really hard to make sure that our families were not gouged. And we continue to hear from families that while we are tech heavy, they want print materials for our children. That is important to be reading and writing and annotating in all of the subject areas, which is why AP Psych actually added a $30 book this year that will be passed on. You know, they find that book to be very valuable on top of the AP, you know, hardback book that we buy. And we don't buy those every cycle. Some of our AP books, because they stay relevant, can be used anywhere between 10 and 15 years. So 2 adoption cycles we can get out of those. At the middle school, you'll see that we have some additions because we're bringing on 6th grade. We do have 2 reductions in music where we're not going to record, we haven't, and then a reduction in French. We are very happy with the math adoption. We're only going up $1. So moving from Envision to Desmos, we are $1 more than we were 5 years ago. And when the district signs that 5-year agreement, we are locked in for the period of 5 years at that amount. So we're very happy there, and you'll see that we continue to, when we add courses there, and the one-to-one moving. The one-to-one is important because families were paying $350 twice. They'll just move to $50 per year. And we mitigate our cyber risks by not being one-to-one anymore. That was something that we've continued to hear. So we'll be phasing out our bring your own device over many years. And second, it will allow us to be one-to-one in elementary. So that's a big deal for the district. And then finally for elementary, the curricular items are mostly reduced. We did raise the tech fee to $25. However, because we were able to reduce our exposure in the consumable area, we're seeing anywhere from $17 to $40, and the increase in tech fee for 5th grade was $50. So we were able to reduce, again, working really hard as a district to make sure we're not saddling our families with extra expenses. So we're able to continue to move forward, continue to innovate, continue to be really focused on our families and making sure that we're passing along the savings that we get to them.
Paul, I would agree. I know parents do appreciate still getting the the paper products, because if you want to help with your child or whoever, you don't even know what they're working on because you haven't seen the digital program that's being used. And I remember parents would regularly ask for paper copies of things.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, is there any more discussion? Okay, please call the roll.
Mrs. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Chestnut?
Yes.
Mrs. Mason?
Yes. Now moving on to business operations, I'm going to need a motion to approve the HCC Category 2 equipment proposal.
So moved.
Second.
And Jeff, can you tell us about this?
Yeah, it was mentioned just a little bit ago about technology, particularly in the high school. So this is to upgrade our wireless infrastructure at the high school. Generally, this should be updated every 4 to 5 years. Where's Emma? 4 to 5 years, and we're on like 7 or 8 years. So we're behind the 8 ball getting it, and just every year goes by, there's more and more tech usage and things like that. So this will be to upgrade the switches, the access points, and as well as the cabling in the high school for our wireless infrastructure. It was bid through E-rate, so we will get 40% of that will be reimbursed to the district after the project's over.
Great.
And this will happen over the summer?
Yes, this will happen over the summer.
Okay.
All right, any more questions, Jeff? Okay. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Chestnut?
Yes.
Mrs. Mason?
Yes. Now moving on to concluding items, do we have any public participation?
We do.
Okay, I just want to read the statement about public involvement at board meetings. Individuals will be permitted 3 minutes to present to the Board of Education. Complaints against a school employee are not permitted in public session until the defined lines of communication have been met. Each person addressing the board will give his/her name and address. Public participation may be extended by a vote of the majority of the board. And with that, we can have our first participant.
Sure. Julie?
Do I need to repeat my name and address? Okay. Good evening. My name is Julie Maston. I'm here as a mother whose daughter Kaylee died by suicide in 2023. but also as someone speaking up for every student who has died and been quietly erased. Tonight, I'm asking you not just to honor Kaylee with a graduation chair, but to create a policy that allows any student to be publicly remembered at graduation if their classmates and families want that. Whether it's suicide, cancer, or a car accident, grief deserves space. No one should have to fight this hard for something so human. There has been claims that recognizing Kaylee could promote suicide, but that's not backed by real evidence. In fact, organizations like the Suicide Prevention Resource Center, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and Postvention, researchers like Wexler, Swanson, and Coleman, whose work has been published as recently as 2022, all support safe, thoughtful memorials as part of healing and prevention. These experts emphasize that acknowledging a student's death, when done carefully, reduces the risk, builds connection, and supports those left behind. If the district had followed the full scope of recommendations from the National Center for School Crisis and Bereavement, including their own guidance on grief support and postvention, there would already be a policy in place allowing memorials like a chair. I spoke to the director of the NCSCB myself. Even their own guidelines encourage schools to work with families and students to create meaningful, community-supported ways to acknowledge death. A chair placed quietly and respectfully fits that guidance when it comes from the community. Milford has removed flowers, torn down posters, and ignored students' efforts to grieve. What message does this send? That students are disposable? That their lives only matter if they didn't struggle? Right now, Milford has no policy for this, no protocol, just silence. And in that silence, flowers are removed, posters are torn down, and kids are left wondering if their grief matters. That's harmful. We need a written, transparent policy, one that affirms how this district will support grieving students, how it will honor those who die, and how it will make space for healing. And that goes hand in hand with a deeper issue. This district needs to invest in better mental health resources, real postvention plans, and long-term support for students who are actually struggling. A guidance counselor and a hotline are not enough. That's reaction, not prevention. Over 6,800 people have signed the petition supporting Kaylee's chair. And it's not just about her, it's about the past students that have been buried in silence and for the future ones who deserve better. This is not about glorifying suicide. We are not asking for a spectacle. We are asking for basic compassion and a structured, respectful way to grieve. It's about honoring life, allowing grief, and supporting students who are still here. If you won't change the policy now, that's fine. I'll keep showing up until you do, because students deserve more than silence and families deserve better than a locked door. Thank you, and long live Kaylee Maston.
Did we have another?
We do. Louisa?
You said it right. Thank you.
Oh, God. Thank you.
State my name and address.
Yes.
Louisa McQueen, 1259 Holland Drive, Milford. I am really deeply saddened by being here today in support of Julie and Kaylee. I can't even believe we're having this discussion. Recently, Biden had a speech on TV, and he said, it's dignity, simple dignity. Everybody deserves dignity. I am originally from South Africa, and I moved to this country because it was patriotic. And when we are not honoring a student that killed herself at a graduation, this is un-American. I came here to be in the best country in the world, to live the best life that I could for me and for my children and for my grandchildren. And when this board decides not to honor a student, I don't even believe we're having this discussion. We might as well throw away the flag when we bring home our soldiers and we drape the coffin with the flag and salute. We might as well just throw it away if that's where we're going to start at this level, not to honor a student that has died. We might as well just put it in the trash, burn up the flag, because that's what you're doing. You are setting precedents for the future. You are setting precedents for these children when they become adults. I hope and I pray that you guys make the right decision. And I thank you today for allowing me to speak.
And do we have anyone else?
That's it.
Okay. First of all, I wanted to thank both of you for coming and speaking tonight. I also want to thank the entire community for your engagement and care for our students and families. I think it's really important. I'm going to read a statement from the board concerning this. We know this is a deeply emotional issue because the loss of a student, a friend, and a daughter can never be anything but heartbreaking. As board members and as parents and community members ourselves, we have felt the weight of this loss alongside you. We want to especially acknowledge Kaylee's family tonight. We recognize how hard it is to sit here and hear these conversations, and we are truly sorry for your loss. Because this is so emotional, we feel it is our responsibility to lead with care and with evidence. Our job is to support every single student, especially those who are quietly struggling. That is why before finalizing our graduation procedures, Milford Schools consulted with the National Center for School Crisis and Bereavement, reviewed university research, and listened to mental health professionals. The Claremont County Mental Health and Recovery Board has also reviewed, discussed suggestions, and approved the language and intent of our plan. While we understand that there is a petition circulating with many signatures, we also want the community to know that we've been listening to a wide range of voices. We've heard from mental health professionals, staff, parents of graduating seniors, and other community members on both sides of this conversation. This issue has touched many, and the perspectives we've received have helped us better understand the complexity of the situation and the impact that our decision is not only on Kaylee's family, but also on students, parents, and even other districts. We understand that to many, placing an empty chair may seem like a simple, compassionate gesture, but experts in adolescent mental health are clear. Public memorials during events like graduation, especially symbolic ones like an empty chair, can unintentionally increase the risk of suicide contagion. That term refers to when one suicide influences others, particularly among young people who may already be struggling. It may seem counterintuitive, but researchers, including those cited in the Journal of the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, have found that well-meaning tributes can sometimes lead to more pain, not healing. Students may see the attention surrounding a memorial and feel that suicide is the only way they'll be remembered. We cannot take that chance. As painful as it is, we must follow the guidance of professionals to protect our students. We will not make different decisions depending on how a student passed away. We do not place empty chairs for any student because doing so selectively would be unfair and unsafe. That said, it's important to know we have, we are, and we will continue to recognize Kaylee and every student that we've lost. At graduation, we will read her name aloud with the other graduates. Her name will be printed in the graduation program. Her family will receive a diploma privately. And the yearbook will include an remembrance supplement to honor all students who passed away during their time at Milford. We will continue to support our seniors and all students through this. In fact, just last week, our mental health coordinator and high school leadership met with seniors to provide a space to talk and ask questions. We've hosted events like our Kick the Stigma soccer match held in partnership with organizations like 1N5, 988, Best Point Behavioral Health, and Child Focus. That's what we want for our students, a community where no one struggles alone, where grief is honored, but so is healing. We will continue to listen. We will continue to provide support, and we will continue to make every decision with the well-being of all of our students in mind. Do we have any discussion before we end the meeting?
Nope.
Okay. I do want to say that we are going into executive session, and it will be for the purpose of discussing the employment of a public employee. We will be returning to adjourn in here, but we will not be making any decisions or voting on anything. So I will need a motion to withdraw to executive session.
Really quickly, can we announce our next board meeting while we still have
Yes.
people, because the room will be quite quiet when we get back?
Yes. I was going to do this and then go
Oh,
into
sorry.
discussion and next board meeting. So can I just get a motion to withdraw into
So
executive
moved.
session?
Second.
Okay. And a vote?
Mrs. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Chestnut?
Yes.
Mrs. Mason?
Yes. Our next board meeting will be May 5th, 2025. It will be here at the Board of Education Administrative Building at 1099 State Route 131 at 6 p.m. And we will now adjourn into executive session.